What is up, everybody? I am really excited today because I am both announcing something and presenting something. So I've decided, I've talked about this in a couple other videos, but I'm officially going to be doing a podcast of sorts. We're going to keep it kind of short. We're going to present it here on the YouTube channel, just like it would my other videos, just a little longer. And my goal of this is to have a new guest, and I'm going to try to do these no later than every 2 weeks. I'll have an audio version as well that's not set up quite yet. But once I have a couple episodes, I'll have an audio only version that you guys can have access to. But yeah, I have a couple great guests that I've already even talked to. I have 3, I think, recorded right now, and some great guests to come. I'm really excited of some of the people we've got. I've chosen to kick this off today. I wasn't actually going to release this quite yet, but I had my guest, Tm Bartz, on from, you've probably seen his YouTube channel. He's the Ford video guy. He's got all the information on Ford. He's where I kind of went before I had this channel, on getting information on the Lightning. And we talk a lot about that. We talk about today's crazy announcement that Ford is in fact dividing into 2 different companies, which is crazy. So we talk about that today, and just so much stuff. So I decided, you know what, since this is, we talked about a lot of news, I'm like, you know what, I already have a couple of these recorded. Let's start this. Now I'm going to probably pace a couple out and keep them in the backlogs, but I'd love if you could comment any of the other people in like the YouTube car sphere who you think would be a great guest for this podcast. I'd love to know who you'd like to see. And with that, I'm going to lead into my conversation with Tim. Another huge thanks to Tim. If you don't already know him, he's all this stuff is linked in the description below. Really cool guy. I think he is I'm going to say he's the saving grace of dealers. So he works for a dealership, but he's a YouTube guy who he's very transparent and gets all the information out. He's how all dealers should act, in my opinion. So we talk a little bit about that too, where we see the dealer model actually going. And it was a really interesting conversation. So I'm super excited to call this the first episode of All Charged Up. That's the name I ended up going with. Who knows? I might change it in a week, but for now we're going to call this All Charged Up. So welcome to the podcast, guys. Thank you. Let's get into it. So yeah, welcome, Tim. I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're kind of meeting each other right on the spot here. I have some questions for you. I love your videos. I was watching them before I even started recording, and especially in like my F-150 Lightning journey, I was looking forward to your live streams like all the time. Like, well, what kind of news do we got here? And I would often kind of use that for some of my videos. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, great. Actually, I've resourced one of your videos. Started watching yours because you had some Lightning information. I said maybe he's got something new I don't have. It's really fun watching your videos. So
totally, that's the game of just like, well, if we piece like 6 of these guys together, we get the actual truth somehow, because it's so hard to find it. But yeah, before we super dive in, do you just want to give like a quick background of kind of, you know, what you do over at your organization there, and kind of your YouTube journey as well too?
Yeah. So I'm Tm Bartz here, and I work at mcarthur Fords in Salina, Kansas. So we are a Ford and Lincoln dealership. We sell Roush, and we partner with any of the performance ones, Roush, Celine, any of those that we can to get some fun vehicles in. So I've been here about 21 years now.
Dang.
And started the internet department here over 20 years ago. They hired me based on that because they knew I knew something about computers. And so they're like, hey, he'll be our internet guy because he knows how to, use computers. So it was a thing back then. That's usually what happened is your IT guy became your internet manager or whatever. And so I was selling for about 6 months before they said, hey, here, we're going to show you. We want you to do this. And so I pretty much started our internet department here, and it's taken off from there. And then all the time I go to conferences and learn more. What can I learn to, make the department, make it be more profitable and help it out and everything. And so I just about what, 6 years ago, started, came back and said, hey, I'm gonna try doing video. It's new. I'm gonna see there's some dealers doing it, so I'm gonna try this out. And I'm real big into knowing everything I can know about vehicles.
Sure.
I just love, I mean, we get tested every year. Most sales guys are like, hey, somebody take my test for me. And I'm like, I want to know it all. So, I always want to know all the ins and outs of every vehicle, and so that I can help my customers the best. And I've always been into that. So I like educating people as well, because originally I went to school to be a teacher, and
really?
Yeah. So then I started doing something else, and then so that's kind of like I still want to like educate people, and so I enjoy with the videos that I do. I started doing these walk around videos where I'm like, okay, what do I talk about, what I don't talk about, and it was like these videos are long because I want to tell everything about the vehicles. And then people started giving me feedback off the YouTube videos, and it's like, no, this is exactly what I needed. This is exactly what I wanted for my own F-150 or I want my own vehicle. And this gives me information of how I need to make sure I order it from the dealer to get it the way I want it to. And so kind of took off from there. And then when Maverick just blew up this last summer, and everybody wanted to know more and more about it, and this ordering process, which we've been able to do for years from Ford dealer. I mean, my last 5 vehicles I've custom ordered, but a lot of customers didn't know that they could do that. They were used to just buying off of a dealer lot.
Sure.
So this process is, to a lot of people, is new, but it's been out there and around, and I had all that information. And so I just, and then eventually I did a video, and so many people jumped in there wanted to learn about the Maverick technology, hybrid, different things. And I couldn't keep up with the comments, typing them in. So I'm like, I'm just going to do this live. And it's been a fun venture since then, because I really, I've gotten really good at just being able to answer any questions and be here as a resource. So it's kind of the background there. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I bet I know that and the Bronco, just like these, between like the supply shortage and like trying to like get information on these new vehicles that so many people are excited for, and Ford's zipping their lips a little bit just because they kind of trickle information as needed. So like people are finding these resources like you. It's like, that's how I found you too. I was like, well, no one else is telling me about this stuff. So I think it's really appreciated. And I mean, it goes to show like you have like those weekly live streams, and people are always excited. I'm excited for those. So I think it's a really good move.
I mean, we have about 500-600 people in there, while it's going on. And so it's great. I mean, and it kind of shows that people want that information. And yeah, Ford, I don't know. I think it's just that Ford tries to say, okay, we're going to relay information to dealers, and then the dealers get it out to the customers. Well, there is some dealers that do a good job of getting that information from the person that receives it. In our case, it's our general manager. He does a great job of facilitating that email out to the people, to the managers, and then we tell our salespeople. But not all dealerships do that, and so then the customers are just out there not knowing any information, and so that gets lost. But I've been getting on social media. I've been finding out. I mean, a lot of times in my live streams, what I talk about, I get from social media, from what people are saying in the last week, of getting the pulse of the customer and what they're frustrated about, and then putting a video out or talking about my live streams, and so it's a new process for them, and and there are even salespeople that don't know some of the things that I share.
Right. Yeah. Actually, if you don't mind, this is one of the exact questions I've written down. So I was going to say, like, one of the biggest feedback I hear in my comment section or whatever, especially around like the Lightning, for instance, is like the lack of communication they're seeing with their dealers. And it almost like frames it of like, who's to blame here? Is it like the dealers like gatekeeping this information for who knows what reason? Or is it literally they just don't know? And I'm sure from different like, allotment stuff, like for instance, my dealer doesn't even tell me what they've sold or what their allotment is. Yes, other people are so transparent with that. So between that and, just if you had to like scope it all out, do you say there's an issue of Ford communicating enough information to the dealers, or is it simply that just not enough dealers are taking that information and then relaying it onto their customers?
I think there's a little bit of both, because there are some situations, especially on Lightning, where we don't have information. Like, I mean, like we've only had 3, actually 4, because we had somebody transfer in that already had an invite, but we only have 4 that have been able to switch the reservation to order, you know.
Crazy.
And so then we have, there's been a lot of times during this on Lightning, we're like, okay, we're waiting, give us some information, and they're not Ford isn't giving us a lot of information until they're ready for it. But then also then there's some dealers that aren't grabbing that information and then letting their people know either. So so we're seeing some of that as well. So especially in the Lightning, it's been really slow going out.
Mm-hmm.
This first, the 22 is going to be very small number. Very.
That's what I'm seeing. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're already talking about closing out. I mean, what's funny is we were told that we were only going to get 2 allocations for 22, and then I was like, well, how is that possible? We already have 3 invites. And they're like, oh, some of those numbers I guess aren't right. We found out this week, so it's like some dealers got more, and
so they're still got to learn to walk as they run.
Yeah, and so like we have one that he got an invite. He was at another dealership and got an invite. And before he fulfilled his order, he switched over to us because his dealer wasn't gonna do MSRP. So he wanted to switch over to us and do his order, but then he wanted a pro version, and it's closed out.
Sure.
It got closed out before he could order, so he wants to wait and hold off. Well, if he pushes that to next year to 23, then it opens us up to get one more for somebody else. So that's something we talked about today. They said, hey, make sure that customer kind of opts to go and say, hey, I want to push mine to 23. So then that way one of our other customers, whoever's next in line, can get an invite to do their order if they want something that is available. So
got it. So that reminds me of the fact that the Pro and the XLT are closed now. So if those people who got their, let's say, because Wave 5 is today, right? Yeah. So if people on the Wave 4 behind it, if they got their invite and they just haven't done anything with it, that's kind of bad for people in the back line. You're saying if they would have clicked wait till next year or just done versus doing nothing, it actually opens up so that more people can get invited, right? That's actually cool to know.
Yeah, we're going to be as a dealer within our list. We're going to be limited to those 4. Now that one canceled brought in, it actually gave us a 4th one, and so like 3 of the 4 have already put their order in, and so that other one, if he would go ahead and say I want to push mine to 23, then that would open up so that we would get another one of our customers would get an invite. But until they do that, and then if they get an invite and go, oh well, there's nothing left that I want, I'm going to push mine. So you have to do that until you can fulfill your allocations that the dealers are going to get for that year. So
it's cool that it'll live update like that, though. It gives people more. They're letting a couple more people in the door. Now, do you see the 23 model being turned around pretty quickly, or is there going to be a bit of a gap between this 22 and 23 for some learning time?
The information that I had was that they're going to start scheduling 23s this summer, I believe.
Okay. That's kind of what I heard too.
Yeah. So I think I keep seeing the diagram in my head, and I know it's in my papers somewhere. I got to
somewhere in the stack, yeah.
And I can't remember. I'm thinking it's right in the middle of the year, so it should be June, July, August, somewhere in there, where then they're going to start scheduling and sending invites. I think it's going to be a similar situation as this year with the invites, based on that their queue and everything, and then start scheduling that way. But I mean, they're talking that 23 will be a lot more. Builds. I don't think they'll get the 200,000 done.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, they'll start sending those out, and they say it'll be a bigger number. That this first year is going to be just a small number.
Right. So it's kind of safe to say, not to get discouraged if you're not getting these Wave invites. That's kind of what I've at least learned to accept. You have to wait a little longer, but it's not like you're totally out of the running just because the short amount that they're making for this year. In fact, you could probably still make an order this year, even though it might take a while, which is great news for at least me anyways.
Yeah. I mean, and they're going to schedule this summer for third quarter production, I think. So they'll start producing them, real shortly after that. So it's not like we'll see 23s being delivered by the end of the year. So,
great.
That's awesome. Now, I know you have a Lightning order, correct? I have 2 questions. So one, what did you build out and why? And then also, is it your first EV? Maybe start there. And then if so, are you, why did you switch from gas to electric?
Yes, it is my first EV. Actually, awesome. I've been interested. We actually, a long time ago, we got some used Focus EVs that were all electric Focus.
Okay,
that came through the auction, and they were
What
like,
years were those?
those were like for some reason I'm thinking 12, 13.
Wow.
I don't remember what year they were.
I almost forgot they existed.
Yeah, because they, Ford made them to test them and everything, but they never went. Yeah, never went and sold them new or anything. But they were out there for testing, and then they end up at the auction. We end up getting a couple of them.
That's so cool.
I was telling my wife, I was like, I want to get one of those. We could get one of those. The kids could drive them, use no gas. It'd be awesome. And she was, of course, nervous. Well, what if you run out of it, electric? I said, well, what if you run out of gas?
Yeah. I have the same conversation with my wife every time we travel. Yeah.
I'm like, so I've always kind of been, looking into that going, man, that's just the way to go. Just plug it in, electric. So I've been kind of into it, but more than I did that on this was because in the last several years, I've been, on Bronco when it was released, I was like, I just got an F-150, I'm not going to get another vehicle. Cause in our family, it's always been, she has a vehicle, I have a vehicle, and that's just the way it was. No extra vehicles or anything like that. And then Bronco came out. I'm like, oh, I really like one, but no, I got my F-150, and that's going to be my daily driver, not the Bronco. And then, it kept going on. I kept doing videos. I'm like, I really want to get one of those. So then finally, I did reserve right before you could flip it over to order. So I was way behind everybody else. But because of how I ordered it, it ended up coming in. Well, when Lightning came out, I said, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm going to put the $100 reservation down right now. So during, when that reveal went out, as soon as it went live, I was on there and I did mine real quick. And so that I'd be one of the first ones. And two, because now I'm starting to do more videos and with Maverick.
Yeah, it'll be great to have it on hand.
I wanted to be able to go through the process and be able to record it and do videos and then even get it in, and I'll keep it for the year. I mean, I'll trade in my 2020 F-150 for it, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I mean, more power and all electric, gas. I mean, and for me, we have a vehicle that will be our out of town vehicle, but really I could still take this. Our nearest for Salina, we go to Wichita. It's like an hour and 15 minutes to Wichita. So we can go down to Wichita, go shopping all day, and come back and not have to charge it up until we get home. I mean, and Kansas City, a little harder to do that because it's a little further away for us. But if I found a place while we're eating to charge up, then it could get me back without a problem. So I just look at it for most uses. I don't see where I could probably even go without charging every day. I could I don't have a long drive. I mean, drive around town. This is a small town.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we can get anywhere in town in 15 minutes. So I can drive around in an EV truck, all day long. And so, I totally get it. Yeah. So I was actually, when I looked at it and I did the videos on these, I looked at the XLT and I thought, okay, I could go XLT standard range, but I really wanted that what they call it, the luxury package or whatever package.
Sure.
I kind of wanted that package for all the technology, what I call the 302A equipment group on AF.
Yeah. Like what particularly caught your eyes that or is it just something in your existing truck that you couldn't live without? Like, what was the main thing that you knew you had to upgrade for?
That on my current truck that when 21 came out, I'm like, oh gosh, now it has all this. It has intelligent access. It has your, all these other technologies. It's almost like getting a Lariat trim on an XLT for 21. I'm like, should they carry that over into the Lightning? So I wanted that equipment group, but then I'm like, well, at that point you're paying $10,000 to go to it. So now, if I want extended battery, now I'm only 5,000 away from the Lariat with their upper package.
You're explaining everyone's journey right now. It's like so true, right? I did the same thing.
So I did end up going Lariat with the 511A with the extended battery, and I think it's right at 80. And then this last week, last week, I went ahead and added the tow package on there.
Nice.
Even though I don't plan to tow with it, I think the tow package basically gives you the extra cooling. So I think it'll help.
I heard that.
More efficient is my thinking on that. So I went ahead and did that.
And then
put it over 80 grand though. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's no getting around a steep price tag with this guy, but yeah, I mean, you'll get the tax credit, right? That's probably because it should get in just in time.
I don't know how that works because I heard somebody said that there's like 80 grand is where that cutoff. So
you're right. 80? You think so? Yeah.
Because I had it at 79.9 with the all-terrain tires, and that was it. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try it, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Just get what I want.
Yeah, just
But
go
anyway,
for it.
I actually was gonna add the power boards on there because now you can go in and add the power boards.
Is that new? I didn't know you could have power.
It was a late
running board?
availability. It was a late availability when you go to, so when you went to go put in your order, it wasn't there, at least from
Oh,
iWave.
interesting.
But now somebody mentioned it on my Facebook Live last week, and I'm like, oh, let me go check. And I was like, looking there, I was like, it is there. So I click on it and save it, and it tells me it's on material hold. So power boards is still a late availability item. So you can put it on your order, but then it won't get scheduled until the power boards are available. So I took it off.
Got
I
it.
thought, well, I'll keep checking back every so often and seeing when it becomes available, and then if it doesn't get scheduled before it comes available, I'll probably add them. But
Nice. How much more were they added?
I don't remember.
A grand or two?
Yeah, probably $1,000. That's been
Not
my
bad.
thinking, but
That's worth
I
it.
can't remember.
You already got the tow package. Let's just build it up. So that leads me. Sorry. If I were to steer this just a little bit, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. We can cut this part out. Nah, I'll leave it all in. That's what podcasts are for. I kind of wanted to ask a question about just dealer models as a whole. So do you, if I'm looking at my comments, the second most popular thing I hear is just I feel like dealers get a bad name just because the bad experience speak louder than all the good experiences that people have. But it's obvious that we're kind of shifting in a way of people, doing their own research or whatever. So I just want to ask you, of someone who lives and you're in this world, where do you see it shifting? How do you personally, I don't want to say I think you are doing what people need to do of being transparent, getting the information out, and being black and white. Yeah, this is what it costs, and this is how it works. That's what will work in the long run, in my opinion. But there's a lot of people, at least in my area here in Michigan, that are just stuck in what I'm going to call old, kind of sleazy sales trends that I think everyone's outgrowing. How do you see? Where do you see it going? Let's just start there, if you don't mind talking on this a little bit.
Well, I know Ford's they're getting frustrated with hearing. I think the big thing is when dealers change their mind. So somebody puts in an order, and sometimes those orders take several months to a year on a Bronco. And then when it comes in, I'm like, oh, well, the market's changed and it's adjusted. So we're going to have to mark it up now that it's come in. I'm like, well, no, so dealers are changing their tune, and they're adding the price after they've agreed upon it on an order. You can't do that. And so, and there are so many dealers that are doing that.
Unless you're Rivian.
So, it's really frustrating to customers because that's happening. And so, and so I've actually put out some videos about, here's some things that you can try to arm yourself so that they don't do that. And you can, have that, you pull that out, and it kind of ties into that price, but there's still, a lot of dealers doing it. So it's really causing a bad, it's pretty negative. And then it's getting back, to the headquarters at Ford, and they're seeing these dealers. And so you've probably seen the quote that Farley has, that he knows what dealers are marking up and everything. And they're moving that quote where he's actually talking about the Lightning, because on the EVs, he wants to keep to that. I think they want to keep to the model that Tesla is doing, to be able to compete with Tesla of the EV dealers need to be pricing theirs at MSRP and not marking them up. And so I think it's kind of funny. I think that when them adding the Model E.
We got to talk about that too.
Okay, it's probably on your notes. I was gonna say, I really think the dealers are gonna have to start, on especially EV vehicles, selling them an MSRP if they want to continue to sell electric vehicles for Ford. I think is what's gonna happen.
I think it could really help too, because there's frankly some dealers that I've even talked to that don't believe in EVs or whatever. And I think this we should phrase this. So yesterday Ford announced that they're branching off into two businesses, mostly forward facing for, I don't have the notes in front of me, but yeah, the Model E is what they're calling their electric side. And then what was the other one called for ICE vehicles? Do you remember? Blue. Got it. Yeah. So if dealers could adopt one or the other, I think that's a great direction to go, because then, you could you could literally check off the problems that we were already talking about. The people who adopt and not that this is how it'll work, we don't really know, right? I don't think you do either. But if you could take on like, okay, we're actually a Model E Ford, so we're going to do things a little different. You do the research on your own, you pick out your car and we'll help you get it set up if needed. And then we do service too. And then the ICE places just can stay the same, which everyone kind of wins. So I like it in that respect. Do you have anything that you're excited about for this shift?
Well, I'm hoping what we see is that right now you actually do have to be a certified EV dealer to take, a Model E or Lightning order. But
I learned that from you.
Yeah, oh yeah. But this, I think that they now are able to tie dealers to their pricing policies and saying, so I think maybe why they're dividing that, which hopefully, like for us, we want to do both. I mean, we just want to provide people in this area both, but to get those vehicles for them, because in our market area here in Salina and in Kansas, we outsell all the other, brand dealers put together, for Ford vehicles. Nice. So we want to be able to provide that experience here. If they want electric vehicles in Salina, Kansas, in this area, we want to be able to do that. So hopefully they'll allow us to do both. But we know, like just with now, we know what Ford has any rules, we follow those. Like right now, the rule is you put an order in, you have to get it verified, that order verified on everything, before Ford looks at it. So we know how that works. And that, they told us get more orders and custom orders, and and then you'll see more vehicles come in and you'll get more allocations based on that. So we learn how to follow Ford's rules. And there are some dealers out there that don't pay attention to that, and they shouldn't be allowed to sell EV vehicles. So, I mean, hopefully, they still allow dealers to choose to do that. But if they do, they have to adhere to this pricing policy and stick to that. So, which we're good with that. So,
yeah, I think that's really great. What about your, do you think, this is totally off of what we were just talking about, but you said something like you're outselling everyone. I think part of shifting dealer models too is embracing technology, which you guys are obviously doing there. Do you think that accounts for a lot of like your success over in your area? I think it's got to help a little. You probably get a lot of out of state orders, and how much, if you know those numbers, can you attribute that to, my fear is that like some of the dealerships that are like stuck in their old ways will be there forever because they're afraid to adopt new practices. They think it won't work. They're afraid of the learning curve. I mean, that happens just with, every business really, but like you guys are a proven use case almost, right? Like you guys have like the social proof to say that, a transparent, ish model works. Like, do you have any numbers behind that? Or am I just guessing here? Which could be that could be.
It's pretty hard to attribute certain numbers. I mean, we have several different ways that we market ourselves outside of the state or nationwide, putting vehicles on eBay, being on autotradercars.com, which is more of a national listing sites. And then you have, our YouTube videos, and those coming in, but we do about 30% of our business outside of our state. And so like, especially, during,
Is that common? That doesn't seem like it's a normal thing.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's not common. And it's actually, it gets us in a little trouble with service retention as well. When you have 30%,
sure.
It's like, well, they're like,
you got to drive all the way back.
Yeah, your numbers are down on service retention. Like, well, you think they're going to come back after 3 out of 10 vehicles that are going to go outside of the state and such. But
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is because what we provide is, that, if you finance with us, which, a lot of people will finance the vehicle, then we can do the free shipping, to you. And so then they're like, well, I can just have it delivered to my door for the same price that my dealer down the street might do. But I can, we're know the inventory. We know how to order vehicles a little bit better than some dealers. And so people,
I wish I would use you guys.
It's kind of like the Carvana thing, we actually,
right.
We provide the Carvana experience and have been for, several years, long before Carvana existed. We just didn't market it, that much, other than what I did on my videos. So we've gotten into more of that with our local commercials, but but that's exactly where people's going. When I go to conferences, twice a year called Digital Dealer, and that's the story. Last several times I've gone is about that transparent experience, the customer experience, CX is what they call it, customer experience is really important. And that's been a big focus point whenever we go to these conferences the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 times I've gone, so, I mean, dealers that aren't picking up on that and creating a good customer experience you're gonna get less and less business. And so it's always
kind of just
adapt and keep going.
Self-select, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
cool. Yeah, I like hearing that. What about just shifting again? Is there anything you're excited about in the future that isn't here yet? Like in the just like industry as a whole or Ford as a whole? Like what has you excited outside of just the near future?
That's a broad question. I know. Take your time.
Let me think about that. I have to do some editing now. I don't know. I mean, I see where EV is going. I think that's really cool. I mean, Ford's adopting it. We are getting a little frustrated right now with hearing, hey, we're going to build 600,000, but then we can't build the ones that you have right now.
No joke. Yeah.
It's like because of the chips. So it's like, well, let's focus on now, and then we can, of course, get those factories up and running. But I am kind of really looking forward to where being able to make those batteries from the manufacturers that are good at doing manufacturing, like Ford and Chevy and Dodge, that they have how to build those efficiently, being able to then also manufacture their own batteries and different things like that, so that we can be able to produce even more and more EVs. And I think that's what you'll find is that I didn't really focus a lot and learn a lot about Tesla, but Ford has that assembly line process down. They can make they have a way of doing it. And it frustrates a lot of people because they're like, well, I ordered my vehicle before this other person. Why is theirs getting selected before mine? And getting a lot of that, but Ford has a way of, I mean, this is something actually I was going to talk about in tonight's Facebook Live, is that, if you have, something that that you have a lot of, I mean, are you more willing to, if I can make 10 vehicles versus 3, I want to get those 10 vehicles out. And so that's Ford's concept on that. And so it's frustrating because it's not a first in, first out. And I know Tesla, I think that's their model, if I remember.
And Ford or Tesla can at least do that. Like I think not exactly, but it seems that way just because they have 4 different vehicles all together. And then also like maybe 4 different configurations per each 4 vehicles. So they can do that in a lump sum and just like, they just have each line going probably for each different configuration, and they could just go in order, where Ford doesn't have that luxury.
But you have a great point of like, that's hard for people to wrap their head around a little bit sometimes, of just like the logistics of things. It's not just your local market where you say you want an apple, and since you're first line, you get the apple first. There's so many other factors at play that could be stressful.
And if you limit, and if you notice on the Lightning, in my opinion, they have limited those packages. You've look at F-150, there's 6 different trim levels of an F-150 ICE version, and then you have 3 different equipment groups in each one, and you have 6 different packages you can get. But when you look at the Lightning, there's
9. There's 9 total, right?
Yeah, there you go. And so it's it makes them allow them to be able to produce them a little bit quicker, other than those accessories, which then get put on.
I think that'll help. And but also, I hope that they do embrace some cool stuff. You mentioned Roush earlier. Do you think they'll do something for the Lightning? I bet that'd be pretty cool.
I would think so. We'll see about any kind of suspensions or anything, but
or just even like an appearance package. Just make it like they don't have anything like that you could do on like the stock of like just like blackouts or anything like that. Like, I don't know. There's an opportunity there for Roush.
Yeah, well, and Ford Performance has because on 21 version of the F-150, you couldn't get a black appearance package, which is what's on my 2020 truck. But then Ford Performance gave us, the black badgings, black graphics, the black vent, covers and different things, the black wheels that you could go ahead and take a 21, put this little black appearance package on there, and now you have that. What isn't available in 21, you can put on a 21 from Ford Performance. So I'm sure that'll be carried over. And Ford's trying to get more into the aftermarket business in a way of some of those things. I mean, now they're providing lift kits, and even superchargers are coming, from Ford Performance, instead of having to outsource to Roush or to, Whipple or somebody like that. So of course that won't relate to the EV and the Lightning necessarily, but I could
There's
still
different
see
kind of
them.
superchargers.
Yeah,
That's
right. I don't know if it needs it, man. But
or literal superchargers to plug it in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. So, but we'll see. I mean, I definitely, doing some different things. So I'm looking at going, man, I'd like to look a little different. I always like,
yeah, me
I always like
too.
to add things to my vehicles to make them look special and different than a stock one. And so I'm sure they'll come out with something, at least in appearance, because a lot of Roush's stuff, they have a couple of performance upgrades, superchargers and cold air intakes, exhaust, but a lot of it's graphics and appearance. And so I'm sure there'll be some can do all kinds of cool things. So, and we do a lot of things in house here. We do a lot of custom things. So
I always watch when you guys show those like appearance packages and stuff. I like that. You guys have like a decal kit there too that you guys can do custom, right? I think you mentioned that. That's fun.
The owners here and the upper management that's here, they actually also own one of the graphics companies in town, the biggest graphics company in town. And so we can always, and they do a great job of coming up with some designs for us and different things, and putting them on first class as well. So, which is really cool to be able to have that right here in town. So we can just take it over and they can come up with something. So, like we've already talked about, on the Bronco Raptor graphics looks so cool. We're like, I bet you we could replicate something real close to that and put it on one of our Broncos. So that's awesome. Yeah.
How are you doing on time? I've got one more thing I'd like to touch on if you're okay.
Yep.
Good. You good? Okay. So the last thing that I at least had on my notes that I wanted to hit from a lightning standpoint is that we just either today or yesterday, I don't remember, at least when I saw it, was the announcement of like the at-home supercharger. Now that's stuck in my head. But the intelligent backup battery. Do you have any thoughts on that? I was really impressed at the price point they had. I think it's.
I didn't see that.
Let me share my screen. So yeah, the Charge Pro station, which of course is the first. It says sold out already, but this is the one that comes with the higher trim. So like you're already getting this with your, but this is so people with like the Pro or whatever can also take advantage of the feature. And what I loved seeing right here, $1,300 is pretty great price in my opinion.
And I had heard recently, Ford started doing these Ford Power Up or something times once a month, where dealers can learn more about EV stuff, and they actually mentioned $1,295, so that's real close to what they had mentioned.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
So I knew it was going to be right around that $1,300 price range, but even once you get that, you still have to pay for the actual doing the backup as well. So there's something else you have to get from Sunrise.
Yeah, the installation's definitely not going to be cheap. But if you have
the install, you're going to have to do, and then there's a home backup that you also have to have added. And I don't know what the cost of that's going to be. And that you can only get through Sunrun, I think.
They're the designated guys. But all in all, I think you could walk away, and the fact that this could run. Even with your solar system, if you have that set up too, which is great. So if you're going all in on that, and I think the biggest thing to compare to is like the Tesla Powerwall, which is just almost 10 times as much as expensive. So you could have something similar using your car instead of the backup battery. I think it's great. I really expected, just because the up price of the extended battery, because it was like on the XLT or whatever, what was it, like $10K?
Yeah.
Just to include this charger and a bigger battery, I assume that a lot of that price was coming from this. So it's like, it's going to be $2,000 or $3,000. So I think it's a fair price. I shouldn't be like excited that you're going to spend after installation, who knows, like probably still $3,000 to get this set up. It's still not cheap by any means, but the functionality you get out of it, and it's what a lot of people are most excited for about the Lightning, in my opinion. Like my Joe Schmo friends who don't follow this stuff like the crazy person I am, they say, oh, that new Lightning, the one that can power your house, like that's like the one thing people like the talking point they have. So I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting that they did this, and it's fair.
I agree. I mean, with it being, when they said $10,000 to basically go up to the extended battery and you get the home charger thrown in, I thought, who knows how much is the charger? I don't know. So, because I actually thought about going, because my thought was I was going to either go XLT standard, but then I wanted that 310A or 311A package, It's either go that or go all the way up to the Lariat with the extended. The 511A was one of my two choices. And it's like, well, but I don't know, will I be able to get the home charger, or how much was it going to cost? Because at 10 grand, I thought maybe, man, that thing's going to cost 3,000-4,000. I don't know, but so I'm not too disappointed with that price. But
yeah, totally. I thought of one fun question to end on. Since you get to see Ford's colors every day, what's your favorite? And I know I was trying not to keep this all about the Lightning, but that's just all I end up talking about anyway. But of your favorite Lightning colors or Ford colors, name like your top 2 or 3 that you think look the best, or you think will look the best on this vehicle.
I really wish my actual truck is the Magma Red. And
Ooh,
I love
I
that
haven't
color.
seen that one.
And
it's like a deeper red.
Yeah, and it's so
darker.
Like when it's cloudy out, it looks black. But then when that sun hits it, it's a dark red, and and that's what's on my 2020 right now. I really wish they would bring that back. And now that I've seen the ice blue in person, I'm not as impressed with it. I thought that would be. I thought it would be dedicated to the Lightning, and it's not. It's available even on the Escape right now.
That's where I saw it was on. It was an Escape, or even something like a. What's the small, whatever. But yeah, I was like, what? I thought that was just the Lightning thing. And then it's also a little too silver, but yeah, keep going.
I ordered mine in the smoke quartz just because it's a new color for this year. So we'll see. I actually want to see one in person because you can get it on a 22 F-150, but we haven't received any in stock yet with that color. So if I see it in person and don't like it, I might change my color.
Will you send me a picture? Because I'm very intrigued on that. If I do get to order, I'm probably going with that because I've decided I'm going to go Lariat, and you can only get it at Lariat and above too, which makes it kind of, oh, you got the fancy one.
Yeah, that was another reason I want that color. And so, I mean, yeah, I'm not a big fan of like the whites and the reds, or some of the reds, and that have been out for, years or whatever. But I will say that if they had made it available in the space white, that might have been, is that the color I'm thinking of? It's a couple different whites.
Yeah, there's Oxford and all the other ones. I
think it's space white that I saw it in person. I was like, wow, it almost really close to the cactus gray for the Bronco.
Oh, really?
I felt like, yeah. So I think it's.
I love cactus gray.
The color I'm thinking of, but
I almost want a Bronco just for that.
It's not available in that color. It's only available in the Star White, I think.
Oh, so you can't even get it.
Yeah. So I was like, if that color was available, no, it's not. Oh, that's my favorite. I mean, that's probably the only white that I'd look at, but yeah. So silver doesn't look too bad on it.
Okay, a classic color. Yeah. I think I'm leaning towards carbonized gray. What's your opinion on that? I've only seen like a Maverick and something else in that so far, and I liked it. I think it's classic. You can't go wrong, right?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm not a big fan of the gray, other than when the Leadfoot was available.
Maybe that's the one I saw.
Deep, rich gray that just, it looks really sharp. But my dad's got a carbonized gray F-150. He likes his gray colors.
Can't go wrong, right? I feel like that's my decision just because I'm so indecisive of what I really want. And I'm like, well, in a couple of years or whatever, I won't care if it's gray. It'll be fine. So
Atlas blue is a really nice color too. It looks really good in person.
Okay. All right. I'm glad I'm hearing it from a guy who gets to see these colors. So I don't know for sure. All right.
What Ford has on the website isn't very.
It's so hard to
tell because I looked at it. I'm like, that's not what Atlas blue looks like.
Sure, so, and you're like, it looks great on my computer, but I know it's not going to look like this. Yeah.
Yeah. We ordered Expedition for my wife, and that's kind of the family vehicle. And I was like, well, I like the forge green, and she saw it on the Ford's website, and she's like, I didn't like that. And so then luckily my general manager, which is my brother-in-law, he had a picture from one of the Ford meetings where he saw one in person, and he was out in the sunlight, took a picture and sent that to her. And she goes, that's what I want. And they'd already pulled it to schedule. And I'm like, oh no, but we made the change and they took it.
You got it in
so
time?
we got it in on time. So we got it. It's going to be the forge green. And that's another really cool color.
Is that new? I feel like I don't think I've seen that on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's new. It's not even on the F-150, but it's new on for this year on Expedition Explorer. So
that could be cool. Cause I know like the Tacoma and, why can't I think of the big one? Toyota. They have a cool green color. Yeah, Tundra has a cool green color too, but Now we're rambling about colors. Who would have thought? But, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but before I go, where can people find you? Drop some plugs or whatever you want people to go check out. And of course, a big thank you. So if you want to end on a couple plugs.
Yeah, you can. I on social media, of course, I'm on Facebook, but I more like people to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tm Bartz there with a Z. And then of course on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/long mcarthur. So anyway, but
fantastic.
And then, of course, any hashtag Ford video guy, that's kind of what the tag that I kind of use as well. So, but they can find me there. So
he is the Ford video guy.
Yeah. So.
I love it, man. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day for coming on. I don't know what else to say other than thanks, man. It was great meeting you.
Yeah. Thanks a
lot. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll end it here. Thanks.